Read Turtle Power. It is Archie Comics' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures issue 7, the famous Wrestlin issue. We have the Turtles in their wrestling costumes fighting Crying Own on the cover. The cover is by Ken Micciarone, Ryan Brown, and Steve Levine. It's kind of boring when I just say the real names, isn't it? This is by Steve Murphy as Dean Clarane and Jim Lawson, who I mentioned yesterday too. And now I wonder if I can go a whole week with him being mentioned in every video. We have a recap here. The Turtles talking about the last 2 issues, which included the debut of Man Ray in issue 5, and then after that we had Leatherhead, the Archie version of Leatherhead. Here though is your favourite character, Cuddly the Cowlick, or just Cuddly Cowlick. A large, disembodied head of a cow that teleports the turtles to different places, different worlds or dimensions. If you look at this and you think that is the stupidest thing I have ever seen, I want to point out that the idea probably was, we need a plot device to transport the turtles from point A to point B. And they decided to make that plot device a floating cow head. The premise alone distracts from the purpose. You are too busy thinking it is the stupidest thing you have ever seen to think too much on it being a plot device. And Cuddly does appear throughout the rest of the series. It is a recurring plot device. And I looked it up, and Cuddly the Cowlick made a return in IDW's Turtles comics. The Armageddon Game, a story from just before the Abominable Current reboot. The Turtles are teleported to Stump Asteroid, where they meet a pair of aliens who run intergalactic wrestling tournaments. Stump and Sling. Sling is a parody of Don King, whereas Stump, an alien that looks like a withered tree, is greedy and loves money. He is none other than Donald Trump. Keep your politics out of me comics, man. A page catching up on Shredder and Krang. Not much to say there. And then we meet some of the other wrestlers. Up top we have Crying Own. And then in the middle we get another look at the 2 Donalds. And then at the bottom we have Ace Duck, who is a fucking beefcake in this. This is what he looks like in the cartoon. He's been using steroids since then, hasn't he? The Turtles are going to do some wrestling, and Leatherhead is there too. He was abducted at the end of last issue. Cuddly transported him when he was falling off a cliff. He was saved from the jaws of death by the jaws of bad breath. The Turtles, they have wrestling costumes. Now, it is a bit confusing because of one colouring choice. The one with the red mask is actually Donatello. The one on the left, that is Donnie. Then we have Leonardo, Raphael is the one in black, and Michelangelo is on the right. Ian and Leo are at least giving you a little clue with their traditional colours. Now these costumes predate the Archie series significantly. Back after the very first issue of TMNT came out, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird were already aware of the kind of problem that you couldn't tell the Turtles apart other than their weapons. Their only comic was black and white, so the colours weren't a consideration. The different colours was a thing introduced by the 1987 cartoon. Its biggest influence on the Turtles, really. Eastman and Laird were going to give the Turtles individual costumes, and those were basically what were dusted off to be these wrestling costumes. They were reconfigured a bit. Leonardo's costume became Michelangelo's. The mask, anyway. That's exactly how it is in this, the mask. Donatello's is note for note the same. A lot of them were taking inspiration from Japanese styles. Then Raphael, the black costume, that one was always intended to be a direct reference or homage to Spider-Man's black costume. And of the wrestling costumes, Raphael's outlasts the others. He wears it for a few issues afterwards, and it's one of the iconic bits of imagery that is linked to the Archie series. The fourth design, the one we've not covered, isn't actually from then. Originally, Michelangelo, who was given Leonardo's design, originally Michelangelo was like an American football player helmet. Whereas the design we have in here for Leonardo, that is maybe based loosely on an Eric Talbot painting from a few years later of the Turtles where they were barbarians. Very low quality JPEG here. Although the idea of outfitting them in samurai gear was a common idea, and that is what Leonardo's costume is incorporating. NECA toys, I'll quickly do this now. We've got the Stump Wrestling Turtles, they did a 4-pack of that. They did Crying Owl. They've done Leatherhead in his wrestling gear. And they are doing Ace Duck as he appears in this issue. We have the very special, always appalling, Jason Byrne style 2 stories at once approach. Straight from issues of his Fantastic Force and Incredible Hulk. Our 2 things are, we have the Turtles versus Crying Owl, and we have Leatherhead versus Ace Duck. It is a fun story, but my God, do I not enjoy this narrative practice. It's not that bad in this, honestly, it's not that bad. It's also not quite as strict as when Jason Byrne does it. It reads better than Jason Byrne. Pop that on the cover. A pull quote for you. Reads better than Byrne. The important thing, what makes it less air pulling, these 2 things are happening in concert. 2 rings right next to each other, and they do gel together. They're the same thing, really. 2 fights. It's not like a wedding and Doc Shanna fighting Hulk for the 5th time. The Turtles and Leatherhead, they win. They beat Crying Owl, and Ace Duck respectively. I think it would be the operative time to let people know that despite me enjoying this, it is a classic, and despite me enjoying a lot of other comics with wrestling as a theme, I am not a fan of wrestling. Big fan of all those Marky Mark J comics with wrestling. That's the beginning and the end of my wrestling fandom. This is fun though. Stump wrestling. Cuddly Cowlick barfs up the turtles as weapons now. That is another thing. He barfs things up. Like when he teleports the turtles, he barfs them up. The turtles, with their weapons, they demand to be returned to Earth. But Leatherhead wants to stay behind because as a wrestler in the Stump Arena, he will find more acceptance than as a freak on Earth. So the turtles go home, and Krang is annoyed because he just missed the broadcast of the Intergalactic Wrestling. He's a fan of Stump Wrestling. But Cuddly has taken them too far. He has dumped them in a Days of Future Past. A bleak foreshadowing to the fate of our planet. It's some sort of forever war. And then he returns them to their proper time. Nice of him to tease a little story there, isn't it? Transportation and story hooks. What an amazing bovine plot device. Splash page here. To be continued. Not really. It's a rather clean ending point here. Cannot remember what the next one is, actually. It's not Chameleon, I know that. Number 8, it's something else. Wingnut, maybe? Wingnut and Screw Loose. I think that might be it. Right, so I recommend it to people who have watched this video and seen the interiors and what I have talked about and gone, that looks alright. I think there's always going to be people who aren't happy that they're not doing violent ninja shit. And there'll be people who scoff at a giant trans-dimensional cowhead. It is a type of story, it's a type of comic, it's a very distinct style and tone for these Archie adventure comics. Not for everyone, obviously, but it's harmless. Fun, colourful, easy read. I'll give it 7 thumbs up.